With the rising cost of food, one of the most important first steps to take in saving money is to commit to making meals right in our own homes, in our own kitchens. But committing to doing that and actually making it a habit that we can sustain night after night, day after day, meal after meal, well, those are two very different things. So having some easy meals with a limited number of ingredients that we can throw together to make something delicious for ourselves or our families, that's a great tool to have in our toolbox, which is why today I'm going to share with you some really great 5-ingredient, actually 6-ingredient meals. My Thrive Market box showed up yesterday, which is really fantastic because I actually just placed that order 3 days ago and it came 2 days later, which is great. But it arrived and I'm unpacking it because there are some things in here that I want to use to make these meals, and Thrive Market is in fact sponsoring today's video. Thrive Market is a membership-based online grocery retailer on a mission to make healthy living accessible and affordable for everybody. Thrive Market has products for a variety of different lifestyles. In fact, whenever you go on their website, you can actually filter their products according to the kind of lifestyle that you are leading. Like if you want to look at keto products, if you want to look at products that are great for a paleo diet, vegan, gluten-free. They also offer freebies all the time that you can add to your order. In fact, this was the freebie that was available whenever I placed my order. It was for 3 bags, and these are pretty good sized bags, of the Quinn brand farm to bag transparency pretzel snacks. So we have the maple almond butter filled and the whole grain sea salt, and then the creamy peanut butter filled pretzels. This combo right here makes a fantastic latte, and they actually sell it together as a pair. You can buy it separately or you can buy it together. 1 quart of each, the Califia Farms cold brew concentrate and the Califia Farms oat milk. So delicious. A few of these little stevia sweet drops makes a delicious afternoon coffee, I can tell you from experience. They also carry a Thrive Market house brand of lots of standard items. I was actually almost out of oregano, so I picked up a package of that to put in my spice jar. Plus, their packaging is recyclable. It is cardboard and paper primarily. Thrive Market is offering a really fantastic deal for my viewers today. Whenever you follow the link in the description box below, thrivemarket.com/cmindymom, and you sign up for a membership, you are going to get 40% off your first order plus a free gift. And Thrive Market is a company that cares. They give away a lot of stuff. They make donations. They have a 1-to-1 membership ratio, which means for every membership purchased, they are going to give one to a family in need. So in a sense, whenever you purchase a membership, you are gifting one to somebody who can make good use of it. Thrive Market does offer a month-to-month membership option, so you can pay month to month. But the best bang for your buck is actually to purchase a year's membership up front, because it drops the cost to only about $5 per month. So don't forget to visit the link in the description box below, thrivemarket.com/cmindymom. When you purchase a membership, you are going to get a free gift plus 40% off your entire first order. That is a fantastic deal. Thank you again to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. The peanut butter filled pretzels from Quinn, delicious. Kind of want to try these maple almond butter filled. Wonder how these are. I think we should find out. Okay, these are good too. You don't really get the maple, or I don't really get the maple flavoring until kind of the end. It's almost like an afterthought. Really good, but they're super crunchy too, which I like. But these ones right here, the peanut butter ones, 10 out of 10, would recommend. I am legit gonna hide these from the kids, not gonna lie. I'm gonna save these for myself, and I might not even share with my husband. We need to be heading out the door in about an hour for a basketball game, so I am going to throw together some dinner. And this is a ramen recipe, and the original one comes from plain chicken. And I will leave the original one linked in the description box below. I'm changing it up just a little bit. She uses thinly sliced pork loin in her recipe, and we're not huge fans of pork. I thought about using ground pork, but to be honest, ground pork was actually just as expensive, or actually more expensive than ground beef, and we prefer ground beef anyway, so I'm gonna use that. I am using 1 pound of ground beef, and I am using 90-10, half a cup of soy sauce, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1 to 2 tablespoons of chili garlic sauce. I will probably use 2 tablespoons. And then you're gonna need some ramen. I am going to use this brown rice ramen, and I'm going to use all 4 of the bricks of it because it comes out to about 10 ounces. If you were using regular ramen, you won't need the seasoning packet. You probably need about 3 of these packets. I don't have any green onions, which would be really great as a garnish, so I'm gonna use some of this everything but the bagel seasoning to top my ramen dish whenever I'm finished making it. I have some water coming to a boil so that I can cook my ramen. So as soon as that starts boiling, I'll add my ramen and let that cook for a few minutes until the noodles are cooked. And in the meantime, I am just browning up my ground beef here in a big skillet. Now I am adding my brown sugar, my soy sauce, and my chili garlic sauce, and I'm just going to give that a stir and turn the heat down to low, and I'm gonna let that all simmer together for about 4 or 5 minutes before I add the noodles. My sauce here with the meat has been simmering for about 5 minutes, and I'm just going to add the ramen noodles straight from the pan that I cooked them in. I don't mind if a little bit of this kind of pasta water gets in here as well. Then I'm gonna stir that all together. Just kind of let it mix and heat through for a minute or so, and it will be ready to plate up super fast. It took like less than 15 minutes to throw this one together. So not only 6 ingredients or less, but super fast. Tonight I'm making one of my favorite dishes and one of my favorite things to order in a restaurant, and that is risotto. And I used to think that risotto was something really exotic and something that probably took a lot of ingredients and was really difficult to make, but that's actually not entirely true. Risotto is a pretty simple dish. It's just a little bit time consuming to make because you cook the risotto by adding the liquids just a little bit at a time and letting the risotto soak up the liquid that you add before you add more. So it's really not that hard to make. It's just something that I make whenever I know I'm gonna have, you know, a little bit of time in the kitchen. For this recipe, I have my risotto here. This is white arborio rice. You wanna look for arborio rice whenever you are making risotto, and I'm gonna use 2 cups. I have half an onion, which I will peel and chop. I'm gonna use 6 slices of bacon, which isn't even a whole package, so I'll still have half of this package for another recipe. I'm gonna use a package of peas and carrots. I'm gonna need a quart at least of broth. You could use vegetable broth, you could use chicken broth. I am going to make a quart, which is 4 cups or 32 ounces, just using this better than bouillon and water. If you wanted to use plain water, you just wanna make sure that you add some seasonings to it because this is going to help season the risotto quite a lot. And I'm going to finish it out with some fresh parm, which I have grated. I will probably use at least half a cup or so. You could use more or less depending on your taste. I used my kitchen shears to cut up my bacon into little pieces, and I have it in my pot here. This is a big, like 6-quart pot. And I have it in here with the onions, which I chopped up, and it's sauteing together. If you think the bacon won't render enough fat and you want to add a little olive oil, you can, but I usually find that bacon renders plenty of fat for me to saute onions or garlic or any other veggies that a recipe calls for, so that's what I'm doing. I also have my broth on the stove next to me warming up. I'm gonna bring that to a simmer. Your broth that you add in later is gonna need to be warm. You wanna add it into your pot warm so it doesn't cool your pot down every single time you add it. So I've just got that coming to a simmer next to me, and we'll use it here in a little bit. My bacon and my onions are just about done cooking, and I'm not super worried about all the little brown bits on the bottom of the pan. Those are gonna come up as we add the broth later on. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add my rice and also my veggies. They're still just a little bit frozen, so I'm gonna let them cook here in the pot for just a couple of minutes to come up to temperature with everything else. Give this a stir, let it all cook together for just a minute or 2, let the arborio rice soak up all of that yummy bacon grease, and then we're gonna start adding the broth to finish this up. Okay, so I have my pan here on medium-low heat, and I'm ready to start adding the broth. And I'm gonna add just about 1 to 2 ladlefuls of broth at a time. And I'm gonna stir it and kind of keep an eye on the heat. Sometimes I have to adjust it up a little bit as I'm cooking this. It takes a little bit of practice. It's one of those things you just learn how to make it after you make it a few times. And I also find that in the beginning, the risotto soaks up the broth pretty quickly. And then as it starts to become fully cooked, it will take a little bit longer for it to soak up all of the liquid. I adjusted my heat up just a smidge. It's not quite halfway. It's like a little bit higher than medium low, but a little bit lower than medium. See, it's like right here on the stove. And my risotto has soaked up the first of the broth that I added. And now I'm just going to add a little bit more. And I'm gonna keep stirring it and letting it soak up the broth a little bit at a time. And once it has soaked some up, I'll add a little bit more, and it's just repeat. Just keep following that step until you have used up all of your broth. Sometimes you might need a little bit more. It might seem like the risotto is fully cooked, but it takes a lot of broth. Actually, it will soak up quite a lot of liquid in order to get tender. So you just keep repeating that step and stirring it, staying with it, being attentive to it, and once that's done, we'll be ready to finish it out. So a lot of times I will make this on a night whenever I've got some time in the kitchen, but I really don't want to make anything, you know, super involved with lots of ingredients. I don't want to be like running around the kitchen and dirtying up a bunch of pots and pans and stuff like that. But if I have time, I will make this, and sometimes I'll just pour myself a glass of wine. My husband will sit in the kitchen with me and we'll kind of chat about our day, because you know, once I get to the point where I'm just adding the liquids in a little bit at a time, it's kind of like putting it on autopilot, just stirring the pot, just waiting for this meal to come together until it's ready to eat. So I think it's one of those really like soothing things to cook, if that makes any sense. I have added the last of the stock that I initially heated up, and I have a little bit of water just heating in my pan alongside here because I don't think the risotto is quite done yet. And this is why I don't like giving exact measurements for a dish like risotto, because I feel like it's one of those dishes you sort of have to feel your way through. So it's kind of hard to explain, but it's almost like I can still see that it's very, very white in the middle, and I can still kind of tell that the edges are sort of crunchy when I'm looking at it. It's not quite creamy enough, basically. I put these little risotto kernels on the counter so I could show you guys what I'm talking about. Can you tell that the edges are pretty translucent, but that the inside, like the center of the risotto grain is still opaque? It's still like very white. That tells me that it's not quite cooked through. So sorry, it's kind of hard to show on camera, but they're just not quite done yet. Okay, this risotto is done. It looks so much better. Look at how plump the risotto kernels are and how just creamy the whole dish looks. But I'm going to finish this out by adding about 3/4 of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. I have turned the heat completely off. The cheese will melt into the dish and it will be ready to serve up. Okay, here it is. I cannot wait to dive into this. It smells absolutely amazing. This is one of those dishes that may not look like much or seem like much based on the ingredient list, but it's very filling. It's very hearty. It's really good comfort food. It's just one that sometimes takes a little practice and takes, you know, just a little bit of time and tender love and care to get right. Tonight I am making a lemon feta linguine. I will leave the recipe that inspired me linked in the description box. I'm gonna make some changes and I am kind of simplifying the cooking process a little bit, but you can go and check that out if you're interested. But I'll show you the ingredients and how I'm making it. I have some linguine here, and this is a 1 pound package. I am only going to cook about 12 ounces, which is 3/4 of this package. You could go ahead and cook the full pound and stretch the meal out a few more servings. You would just have kind of less sauce on the linguine. I already have a pot of water coming to a boil on the stove to cook that, so I'll get that going in just a minute. I have a pound of asparagus. I'm gonna wash and chop this up. I have some feta cheese. I'm gonna be using about 3/4 of a cup here for this recipe, which is about 2/3 of this container. I have 2 lemons, and I'm going to use the zest and the juice from these lemons. I am going to be using half a cup of olive oil and a generous amount of minced garlic, like probably 2 or 3 teaspoons of garlic in order to make the sauce. I have my pasta going on the stove, and I have my asparagus and my garlic sauteing on the stove on very low heat. And while that is sauteing for a couple of minutes, I'm going to put together this sauce. And I'm actually going to use my blender to do this. You could probably just mix this up in a bowl and the cheese might might be a little bit chunky. Maybe you could use a fork to kind of smash it up. I think it would be fine. It's probably gonna melt mostly into the pasta anyway, but that's what I'm gonna do to make up the sauce. Okay, my asparagus and my garlic have been sauteing on very low heat for probably about 4 minutes, so that asparagus is starting to get tender. I am going to go ahead and add my sauce mixture here that I made in the blender. Yummy. Make sure I get all of that out. And I'm also going to add about half a cup or so of the starchy pasta water from my pasta, which is cooking right here on the stove. I'm gonna stir that all together and bring it to a simmer. I'm gonna let that simmer together on low for about 4 or 5 minutes before we add the pasta in. I'll get the pasta drained and ready to go in the sauce. Okay, that has thickened up nicely. You can see that the sauce has kind of simmered down a little bit. And man, does it smell amazing. So I am just going to add my linguine to this. I'm gonna toss this sauce with the linguine and plate it up, and we'll give it a taste. I'll let you know how it is. Here it is, all plated up. I added a little bit of extra feta cheese on top, and we are going to give this a little try and see how it is, because I don't know that I've ever made this kind of pasta before. At least not a hot pasta that has lemon in it. Kind of makes me think about pasta salad. Like maybe this would be really good leftover as a pasta salad. Hot off the stove. That's really good. I was worried it would be too lemony with the zest and the juice from those 2 lemons, but it's really good. And it's definitely a little lighter than like an Alfredo would be. So I kind of like that because it's not as heavy as, you know, a white sauce or an Alfredo sauce. With just the olive oil and the lemon and the feta together. Oh, really good. This definitely gives me summer vibes, this flavor combo. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to visit that link in the description box and snag that 40% off plus that free gift whenever you sign up for a membership. See you soon.